Okay, so this is an amplifier. Data goes in the input and it comes out the output. It's actually in series with itself. It does it's actually all series, really. The whole thing is series. But it does it in 4 lots, but there is a parallel collection because I'm dropping resistance. Yeah, so what I do is each one of these things here repeats the signal and then it drops the resistance to include them all. It's sort of like an amplifier, except it drops resistance instead of increasing the volts, and that means it can't handle a load. I had huge problems making this thing handle a load. Yeah. But that blue thing is actually a resistor it passes through on the way to output. It keeps passing through resistors, so they're about 1k each, and goes through 8 of them, so it's about 8k resistance that's gone through to get to the output. But that doesn't incur amp loss because of how I've made it. They're actually there to isolate the machine from shorting to itself. Because when you have these 4 units, they can't combine together until they've gone through the resistor. And then it just does it again and it does it again. And each time it does it, it's twice as loud as before. There's a little DC bias that adds at the end there, because it's always half on, half. It actually times this by 4, but it's actually half on when it's off, so it already counts as times 2. So I have to, and then I have to subtract that off the extra half that shouldn't be there, because otherwise at the end it would just all be half on and half off. And so like I take that off. I probably don't have to add bias each time. Nah, I think I do. I'm not sure if I do or I don't. Does it all work half on? It probably does. You know what? I actually don't have to put bias on each time. I can probably just do it at the end. So these little squares, the blue one is a resistor, and the other little squares with polarity signs on them, they're actually capacitors, and one's in the A phase, positive phase, the other's is in the opposite phase. So one's going in, out, one of them's going out, in, out, in. And it's going into a capacitor, and it's going to give it current limiting. And the current limiting's job is to make it so it passes through the resistor at the same amps as it goes through another resistor. But if it has a path with no resistance, it always picks it over the resistor, but it just doesn't affect the amps. And so I've got 100 micrometer traces, and the caps and resistors are a millimeter. It's hard to tell from this. There's a better way to draw the picture so you can understand it better. This is all crammed together, so it takes up less space. But really, it's just 4 of these little double polarity bits, and then underneath it is this thing that goes in series, which is changing polarity. The half on the bottom loses volts by 2 each time it adds another lot of capacitors to it in the row, and the bottom's in series. And what the resistor does is, like, I put these 2 powers in the same polarity here, and then even though I've lost so many volts at the bottom, I can still get it back because I voltage block one positive with the other positive, and then that forces it out of the resistor. more. So this is the whole computer I'm planning on doing. There's 6 cores. This is the core. It's missing a bit, but what this does is just it updates one cell of a neural network, or one synapse of a neural network. So if you just call it 1,000,000 times a second, you can probably get 100,000 synapses, and 100,000 synapses probably equates to about the root number of cells divided by the amount of layers. And so this is in a different way of writing the computer. It's actually going to be like that, like this one. And this is an AND gate. The input's coming to the left here, and then the output's coming down. It's got a few buckets, but it's just the same thing. It's just positive and negative capacitors and resistors. And so this has to get changed into that form. I'm doing that today. And this is the whole computer. It's only 2 real bits on it. There's the core, which I just showed you, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. They're just exactly the same. And then there's this thing that takes the eyes of the robot and it converts it into its own self velocity, because it just watches things. It tracks things and then it watches the velocity as it goes by. So this converts its eye angles to world space coordinates for velocity, and this is supposed to be latches here, and then they this thing inputs into the top core and the eyes input into the bottom cores, because these cores are here for its tracker, and this core up here is for the motor, and then there's amps on the sides that connect to its legs. If I made an 8-bit ADC, it'd be like that big compared to this computer, but this computer is actually probably about 40 centimeters. It might be less than that. Could be about 25 or something, because that core is going to be about 6 centimeters across, 4 centimeters down. This amp here is about 2 centimeters. That's what I was just looking at. This amp here is this one. So this is about 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters if the cap's all a millimeter. And so that amp is that, and then everything is sort of scaled to that. If I get it done, I'll probably get $5 a computer for it. But if I package it in the robot, it means I won't have to buy a $10 computer for the bot if I just put this down, but I have to pay for it, the raw minerals instead.